Hi there. So, we're all getting poorer, and no one seems to notice. As a nation, I mean. Anyway, when I was growing up, I was told that my life would be better than my parents' lives. Everything gets better, technology improves, constantly having new discoveries, improving the lives of everyone. And I used to believe that my life would be better. You know, how stupid I was. But I didn't know. There's a big global adjustment taking place. Essentially, it's pushing up the high income countries down as it pulls up the lower income countries. So the privileges we had in the UK and the Western world, basically our wages are buying us less and less when we go to visit these third world countries. We aren't as rich as we used to be. Now, to most people, it just looks as if the price of things is going up, but really, it's the purchasing power of your pound going down. So here's a chart showing the number of ounces of gold the minimum wage could buy you on an annual basis. Can you see a trend? So in 2001, the minimum wage paid over 45 ounces of gold, and today, using a £1,600 gold price, the minimum wage pays just 13.5 ounces of gold. So you could make the argument that gold is priced too high right now, and in the future the minimum wage will once again be able to buy you 40 plus ounces of gold. But I don't think so. If you look at this chart, it shows what the average UK wage was in gold ounces. Now again, 2001 was a good year, with an average wage bringing home over 92 ounces of gold. Today, the average UK wage brings home just 21 ounces. So the thing to note is the fact that the amount of extra gold that someone on an average wage earns above what the minimum wage pays is shrinking. So if you look at this chart, you can see it more clearly. So when you put it into a percentage form, so from 1999 to 2002, someone on an average UK wage earned over 100% more in gold ounces than someone on UK's minimum wage. But year on year, the percentage of gold ounces an average wage buys compared to the UK's minimum wage, it's dropping. So today an average wage buys just 56% more gold than what the minimum wage buys. So the minimum wage and the average wage are basically coming closer together. So if you consider the fact that the world population is growing, the land mass stays the same, and the resources aren't growing in relation to the population increase, so we have more people competing for the same amount of resources, and that's likely to be the case for the next decade or two at least, until we get a universe 25, and that's when the population peaks and then we start to decline. It is happening already here in a way. So the birth rate for native people, it's below replacement levels, so our population is only going up really because of immigration and other ethnic groups that have come here that have basically higher birth rates than the native people. Anyway, so if you look at this chart, this shows what a UK minimum annual wage in gold compares to against the average annual wage in China, Russia and Romania. As you can see, even the poorest people here in the UK were vastly more wealthy than the average person in these countries. But the trend looks pretty clear, and I believe in a decade or so from now, someone working a McDonald's job here will be on a similar wage to a McDonald's job in China, In any case, anyway, to compare our average annual wage against these countries, and you can see we earned over 68 times more gold in the year 2000 than the average Romanian worker, but today the gap has narrowed to just over 2 times. So it's like I said, the global adjustment's taking place. Essentially, they're pushing the high income countries down as it pulls up the lower income countries. So wealth is leveling out basically. It's a gradual process, obviously, but the picture isn't 100% clear, so if you look at this graph, my hypothesis doesn't look quite as good. It doesn't look like it holds up. We have the USA, that's average wages in gold is dropping, but countries like Brazil have also dropped, which I wouldn't have expected. Also, the Rainbow Nation, South Africa, the basket case it is, has also dropped massively. It's now on par with China. And then you've got Bulgaria, that's basically very stable in terms of an average wage measured in gold. So it's definitely not clear cut, it really isn't. But the thing we can definitely all agree on is we don't have it as good as the baby boomer generation, no way. And it doesn't matter how badly we wish we were born into that baby boomer generation that had the jobs that were actually, valued, and they were treated like human beings, secure jobs that provided decent homes and had nice pensions. And most of those same jobs today that baby boomers did, that provided such wealth for them, basically provide the same generations doing the same jobs today peanuts, nothing. Instead, workers today experience chronic anxiety, insecurity, working in artless, careerless jobs with no rungs of any ladder to climb, basically stressing workers out. They're alienated from the labour work and fear losing what little they possess, at the same time feeling cheated by not having more. It's no real surprise that we have a record number of people not working. People see no point in working anymore. People discover all kinds of illnesses or ways they can avoid working in order to not have to endure the hardship of working in a meaningless job that basically sucks up all your time and energy, just so you can have a little bit more than someone that doesn't work. But if you don't work, you have time. You have so much time, and you're not left exhausted. You can understand why people don't want to work. You can totally understand it. It doesn't have to be this way though. A coal miner, say 50 years ago, would endure terrible working conditions, but his job would have gave him an enormous amount of purpose and meaning. Now his job would have been, would have paid enough to buy a home and support a housewife and children, and he didn't need any help from the government in the form of tax credits or anything else. Today, you're made to feel like a fool for working, because that purpose is being completely taken away from you. So your job automatically becomes meaningless. Looking at the stats for housing, the population is increasing faster than the rate at which we're building new homes. So if you add to the growing number of if you add the number of one-person households, that's nearly up 20%, 6.6 million in 1996. To 7.9 million in 2020, and I can promise you there hasn't been anywhere close to an extra 20% of new homes built. So it doesn't take a genius to work out there isn't going to be much relief for anyone wanting to buy a home. The pressure on people to own their own home is probably going to increase. I'm sure what they'll want us to have is what Japan has, with a 100-year mortgage. That basically gets passed down to the kids, if you have kids, because most people in Japan now don't have kids, and that's the same here. So you're basically getting a 100-year mortgage that basically that you'll never see ever paid off. You'll die in debt. But anyway, they want people to die from karoshi. That's an English word anyway. It's taken from Japan. It means death from overwork, and that's what they want for us all, I think. Anyway, just moving away from homes, let's look at car sales. So, as you can see, the trend in the USA is downward. The trend was the same even before the thing in 2020. Looking at China, the trend is upward, although you can see the dip when the thing started. But China has recently opened up, so it will be interesting to see if that upward trend continues with car sales. Here in the UK, as I mentioned a little bit before, we have a growing population. So you'd imagine car sales would have to go up in relation to the population. Yeah, but you'd be wrong. So car sales have been in massive decline since 2016, when we had over I think it was 2.6 million cars were sold then, and today we have about 1 million cars less sold. So yeah, we're definitely a nation getting poorer. They aren't putting the retirement age up for nothing, you know. But even the Bank of England has told you this. You know, the Bank of England has told you to get used to being poorer. It's not just me saying that. But what's the point in knowing all this? That's the thing. I believe forewarned is forearmed. So if like me, you can't really afford a new car, you can work out that in the not so distant future there's going to be a shortage of second-hand petrol cars, and that a shortage is obviously going to push prices up. So you may as well know that information now, so you can buy a car ahead of time before the prices go up, or at least take advantage of having a newer car for a bit longer. To me, it makes sense to put money into an asset that is capital gains tax free. The fact that the government is changing the capital gains tax rules, it's got to be a massive clue as to what lies ahead. And maybe that's just a conspiracy theory, but there you go. But anyway, I hope you enjoyed my thoughts today. So all the best, take care, and goodbye.